I think some stuff just fell off my car.
So, welcome back to Carters in the Car at Night.
Hello.
Hello. And today, we thought we'd have a little chat about our first cars. So, a bit more car talk.
Carter in the car talk.
Car talk in the car.
Car talk in the car. My first car was a 350 pounds, as in sterling.
No way! My first car was £350 too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it was a 1.6 Ford Capri. And they were slated because a 1.6 engine wasn't really enough to pull a car. It was very heavy. But man, that car was awesome. I drove all over the country with that car. Brilliant car. And I had it for about 18 months and then traded it for something else. But that was a wonderful first car to have. I had a big pair of pink fluffy dice hanging from the window.
No way!
Of course, it was 80s or 90s. No, it was 89 or 90.
Ah, yeah, you're a bit older than me.
I am, yeah. So I loved that car. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. What was your first car?
My first car was it's a Talbot Samba.
Ah,
And
yeah.
the indicators actually used to do the Samba, which I think
Really?
is why it was called a Talbot Samba, or maybe not. But anyway, it kind of like made me laugh at the time. So I expect it was a kind of location joke. But anyway, so we used to kind of dance along, me in the car. And then when we were going down the highway, down the motorway, as it's called in UK, but I've been living in Bahrain for 18 years, so I've kind of got into the highway habit. When I'm driving down the motorway, it just used to stop for no reason. There was like nothing wrong with it. It just
Weird.
conked out. And it did it so many times.
What's this?
Oh my God. Oh! Yeah! Hit it! Oh, bus got in the way.
That was fun.
So the first time I ever drove that car, I remember because I was 18. So I passed my test when I was 18. I failed twice, so I passed third time.
Yeah.
I got my car. I bunked off school because that's what you did. And actually, you weren't even at school when you were 18, were you?
No, I've been working in a factory for 2 years.
Okay, well anyway, I was still at school. So I bunked off school to test out my car, took my friends, we got in the car, halfway to Canterbury, we could hear all this like bubbling. It was like sort of some kind of like big sort of Mentos and fizzy Coke sort of like experiment going on underneath the bonnet. So I didn't know anything about cars, I was 18, no clue. It was getting louder and louder and louder, we decided to stop. So we opened the bonnet and then, the cap didn't even like need coming off, it just exploded and all this water just went everywhere. It was a nightmare. So that was my first trip in my car.
Nice.
So the radiator, same as this car, was completely shot and it was so full of silt that
Nice.
it was completely like there was like no room for any more water. So that was that. We got a new radiator and then the car was pretty good. But then I used to go on quite a few long journeys with it and it never lasted. But it was still fun to dance to.
Yeah.
And it was brown. What colour was yours?
My first Ford Capri was kind of velvety red.
Ooh,
It wasn't
nice.
red, burgundy.
Burgundy. And my third car was a kind of burgundy red. What was your second car?
Oh, my second car. My second car was a white Ford Cortina. I bought it off this guy on a farm and he forgot to put the wheels on properly. So I'm driving it out of the farm. I don't know why he'd loosened the wheels or whatever, but I got onto the road and the car was doing this, like, whoa, and I thought, that's weird, it's not proper. Got out of the car and the wheels were loose, so I had to actually do them up.
Oh my gosh.
That car didn't last very long, to be honest. I think it was about 3 months. What was your second car?
My second car was a silver, what they called Austin Metro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was quite a good car, I liked it.
Do you like the sort of squashy, chubby cars?
Well, I liked the squashy chubby cars. Now I have a massive Ford Expedition, which is kind of like a village on wheels.
That's true.
So I kind of changed. But I quite liked them at the time, the squashy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were quite good. But, well, I was rubbish at parking, and they were easier.
Okay. My third car was a Morris Marina, which I paid 45 quid for.
No way.
It was sitting in a friend's garage, and it'd hardly been driven, honestly, at 17,000 miles on the clock. And I noticed it. I'd noticed it every week, and I loved this car. It was like new. And I said to my friend's mum, I said, "Is that your car?" She said, "Yeah, I can't drive anymore." She had a kind of a disability. And she said, "Give me the tax money for it, you can have it." I said, "What?" So I gave her 45 quid, which covered the remainder of the year of the car tax, and drove it away. And that car was amazing. I wish I kept these cars, I mean, especially the Morris Marina, because they'd be worth a fortune now. That car was a little engine, but it was a really great little runaround car. Your third car?
My third car was another small little squashed chubby car. It was another Austin Metro, but this time it was a kind of maroony cherry red colour, which I rather liked.
Nice.
It was great. But my fourth car, sorry to jump in there, my fourth car, I went for sort of like a bigger model. I went for a Vauxhall Cavalier.
Oh, I love those cars.
It was a blue one. It was an H reg.
Yeah, nice.
And I felt like I'd gone up in the world.
Well, my fourth car was a funky sports car.
Oh.
It was a Fiat X19 convertible.
You had a convertible all the way back then?
I did. Now that car was...
Oh my gosh.
Cars are full of stories, right? This car, I paid 500 quid for it, or 450. And I drove it home, and on the way home the clutch went.
No.
Little did I know that parts for Italian cars are so expensive. So I had to pay, I think it was 300 quid for a new clutch system. And so many things went wrong in that car, but one day I was driving the car on the M40 towards Oxford. I was sitting there, the roof was off, and music playing, a great sound system, enjoying the afternoon, and I noticed in my mirror that all the cars behind me were flashing their lights and hanging back. I was like, what's wrong with them? Do I smell? And I looked in the mirror and I saw all this smoke pouring from the back of my car, and I thought, the engine's still going. I went to try the brakes and there were no brakes. The brakes had basically caught fire.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so scary.
Someone had called the fire brigade way back, and the fire brigade was chasing me down the motorway, waiting for me to stop. So I pulled over eventually. I just slowed down and pull over, and the engine was in the back, and the guys thought the engine caught fire, so they basically filled my car with foam. The roof was off, ruined the interior and everything.
Oh, no.
And that car ended up looking, it was kind of gorgeous, like silver grey blue, and it ended up being kind of matte grey. It was a disaster. So
Aww.
that car only lasted me about 7 months.
Oh, okay, after the old Vauxhall Cavalier, actually that had a really sad end, the Vauxhall Cavalier.
Okay.
That was very sad. I was like, I'd never had an accident, and to this day I've never had an accident that's been my fault. I've had a couple of deliberates, but not an actual accident. I was just like we are now, just waiting to turn in, across the other carriageway and into actually the field where I was keeping my horses. And before I could turn in, another car, a big van actually, hit me across the highway. Oh, it's just so bad. And and then another car hit me as well. So yeah, that car was basically written off completely,
Oh dear.
which was sad. Oh, it's always sad. I get quite emotionally attached to my cars.
Yeah.
But the upside of that was that I then got a brand new car, my first ever brand new car.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was 1998, and it was a Suzuki Swift S-Reg.
Oh, cool. I love those cars.
And it was another little squashed car.
But they're
And
groovy.
it was bright red.
Yeah.
It was so cool. So yeah, my first ever car, brand new, was a red S-Reg Suzuki Swift.
Nice.
And I got it because I just got my first big job, really. I was assistant director of music
Yeah.
at a school.
Well, my fifth car was a bright red three-wheeled Robin Reliant.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And
a Robin
I
Reliant.
love those cars.
The Robin Unreliant, I would call them.
Very reliant. Very reliable. Paid 90 quid for it. My Uncle Barry found it in Plymouth. I drove it back to London. And that car was amazing on so many levels. It was so cheap on petrol. You paid motorbike tax and insurance. And it was just a fun car to drive around. It sort of attracted attention, and I made friends everywhere, like this car really.
Yeah.
And there was very little difference driving this convertible red Mercedes and a three-wheeled Robin Reliant, because the attention and the kind of fun factor was the same. But after that, I drove that car from London to Copenhagen, by the way. And it finally broke down in Copenhagen, and I sold it to a biking gang to make into a trike.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
To make into a trike.
That was a common thing because the old Reliants were trikes, basically. And then I got a pink Robin Reliant for 60 quid. And that one was a bit more unreliable, let's say. I was driving it back from buying it in Plymouth, and the axle seized up, and I ended up hurtling towards a couple having a picnic on the A303 on a Sunday morning with flames coming from my wheels. It was fun.
My gosh.
But the great thing about those cars is that they're so cheap to fix. So a whole exhaust system was £26.50, I remember, brand new. The axle to fix that was about 50 quid. So
you didn't hit them, did you?
No, I didn't. No. And in that car, I ran out of oil, and even after running out of oil, I put oil in and it started again and drove it again. I mean, those cars were indestructible, I tell you. Amazing, loved them.
Oh my gosh.
And they even floated. Made of fiberglass.
Did you actually put it in the water and test that?
No, I didn't.
You sure?
Yeah.
Not when you were driving across that bridge, you didn't divert into the sea?
Sure.
Tell us that story about when you drove one across the bridge. And you don't even like bridges.
Oh man, this bridge in Denmark, and those Danes, Andy Jefferson and Lotte in Copenhagen, will testify that to this. But this bridge is one of the highest or longest in Europe, maybe both. And there are warning signs of high winds. And I had to get to Copenhagen, and I'd driven a long way, and it was raining and sideways rain and wind. And this bridge was so long and so high, it was terrifying. And my steering wheel was of course on the right hand side of the car, as in a British car, so the edge was just there. It was awful. And the car was, I could feel the wind going under the car and lifting it from the ground. So what I had to do was wedge myself between two articulated trucks, driving at about 90 kilometers an hour to stay safe. And it was terrifying because there's massive wheels, this car's really small, massive wheels and water spraying. But at least I didn't get blown off the bridge.
God.
And so I was quite glad that the car stayed in Denmark, because I didn't want to drive it home after that.
That's awful.
My next car was a Volvo in Finland. My next car was a Volvo 240, which was one of the best cars I've ever had. And if Dan Winks, if you're watching, I know you were jealous. I spent one summer with an axle grinder grinding all the rust off that car and filling it in, and I made that car look almost brand new. And that car was so reliable. I drove that car from southern Finland all the way up to Utsjoki in the north, up to the northern sea in Finland, up to the Arctic Sea. The car was amazing. You could sleep in it. It was so big, and it was awesome. And minus 30 in the winter, start first time. Amazing Swedish cars, great.
Cool. So I've never actually driven a Volvo. So what are they like to drive? I've heard they're like tanks.
They are. That Volvo is like it's leathered seats. You're sort of, cozily snug in this gorgeous chair.
That's not how I imagined a tank. But anyway.
No, but it's like driving. You feel so. Driving in the winter in Finland, it's a big deal because you've got to drive carefully, and I think it's one of the best cars to drive when you're driving on ice, basically. Frozen roads and snow.
Yeah. Driving on ice. I'm not sure I actually want to do that, but okay.
No, it's cool. Really cool. Love that car. Loved it.
Well, my next car was actually in Bahrain.
Ah.
And so in Bahrain, we hired cars when we first came here. And that was a long time ago, in 2002. And then eventually I bought my car, and it was a Daihatsu...
Charade?
No, a Jeep. What was a Jeep? Yeah, some Daihatsu Jeep. What was they called? I can't remember. I can't even remember now. But anyway, the Jeep that Daihatsu do. And yeah, it was quite a cool little car, because I always like 4x4s. And so this was my first foray into like a 4x4 car. So I could do a little bit of off-road in it. Yeah, and then after that, I actually finished with the car I've got now, which not this one. We've also got our big car, which is the Ford Expedition. So I went little to large. And that car's been awesome. You can even sleep in it.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, good enough for towing a horse box. That's what I got it for.
And my next car was this Mercedes.
Yay!
Hey, so how many cars is that? I've lost count.
Oh my gosh, I've totally lost count. Okay, well maybe we should do like some kind of like a giveaway for the people. Yeah, why don't you give them a CD, Jay?
Okay, I'll give the car away. Oh no.
Oh no, you won't give the car away. Don't listen to him. He will give you a CD because he's a musician, he made CDs, like loads of them. Before everybody forgot about CDs, Jason made loads of them.
And I've still got thousands of them in my house in France.
So he'll send one to you, or he'll give you a free download if you prefer,
Yeah.
of one of his albums. If you can subscribe and tell us in the comments how many cars. The first person to get it right gets a free download or a free CD.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Is that enough car talk?
I think it's enough car talk.
All right.
So it's bye-bye from us.
Goodbye from Carters in the Car at Night, and see you soon.